Wishing all the fathers out there a happy Father's Day in advance. This week I'm going to do a Father's Day card, and I have the 100 Movable Parts DVD to help me, and this is 100 cards made by Teresa Welch, and I'm going to lift one of her card ideas here and take my own spin on it. And this is what I've come up with. So this is a motorcycle card, and it's nice and masculine for your father or grandfather, whoever you want to make this for. And this motorcycle slides along the front, and so that's a fun little mechanism. And on the inside we have Born to be Wild across the top, and of course Happy Father's Day. And this is just like a simple border treatment, so it leaves you a little bit of space to write your own greeting. And the motorcycle stamp is really cute, and this is what it looks like right here. So let's get started, and I'll show you some of the products I used and we'll get right into it. We've got the 100 Movable Parts DVD, the Born to be Wild motorcycle small stamp, and this comes with 3 separate images, and the North Country paper pack, and these are the 6 different papers in that pack. It's kind of got that backwoods feel. I love this one, and it's got a lot of leaves, trees, and this stripe is very lovely as well. So we're going to use that to make my card. I'm starting with a piece of this stripe paper, and you'll notice I have a slit in here, and the dimensions, if I can find my ruler, here it is. This piece of paper is 6.5 inches long, so that's perfect to cover the length of my card, and it is 3.5 wide. The slot on here is about 3/16 of an inch wide by 3 inches long, and it is an inch and a quarter in from the left side and about 7/8 of an inch up from the bottom here. So I first cut this piece out, and then I've got my card here, laid it on the top with the fold on the top, and the full card is 5 inches this way and 6.5 inches this way. So I'm just laying it on here. Notice I'm not gluing it, and just tracing this little rectangle right here, and also the front flap is going to get trimmed off. So I've already cut off 1.5 inches from that front flap. So once I remove that, this is what I've got. So this is the front flap of the card. I've also cut this rectangle of paper, which is 4 inches long by 1.5 inches wide. And this is from that nice blue leaves paper. And it matches this strip, and that's what I want it to do. So I'm actually going to glue this piece of paper over the drawn rectangle that we traced from the slit here. I'm going to glue it over here, and don't glue this piece on yet, but I'm just going to show you this, and then I'm taking in a third piece. Now this is blue leaves paper glued onto white cardstock to make it sturdier, and this is 6.25 inches long by 1 inch wide. And I've rounded these 2 corners with a corner chomper, and that's this tool right here, and it's very useful for rounding corners. So basically just sticking this in at the correct angle, squeezing the lever, and it chomps that right off in a nice rounded shape. So I've rounded these 2 edges, and that's what's going to become my pull tab on the right side of my card front. So I've glued this piece down because when I glue this piece, it will seem like it's a seamless fit instead of showing white underneath. And also I've covered this with blue for the same reason, so that when I slide this over, it will seem like the same color underneath. So, next step. I've stamped my motorcycle from this small stamp onto the blue paper, and that's the same blue we've been using. And I've used the Timber Brown Stays On, which is a nice rich brown. And now I'm going to cut out around my motorcycle, pretty close to the edge, I'd say an 1/8 inch or less of space. So I've got my bicycle, or my motorcycle cut out. I've applied some glue stick to the back, and I'm just gluing this onto a small piece of brown cardstock, which will make it nice and sturdy, and I'm going to mat that on there. So I'm going to, again, cut out a thin border around the motorcycle. Now I'm going to make a few holes in my motorcycle, just one in the center of each tire, and I'm using a craft pick here. This is a Tonic Studios craft pick, and it's really nice because it is retractable, so I can just bring it in for safety and then bring it out as I need it. So one in the front here and then one in the back. And I have two little silver mini brads, and those are gonna go in the center. Now in Teresa's card in the DVD, she uses the brads to attach the image to the actual pulling piece here. However, these are just going to be decorative brads, so they can go on just the motorcycle itself. I'm going to use foam tape to attach my motorcycle to the pulling mechanism, and you'll see that in a minute. Can poke this through. I might need a little bit bigger of a hole. There we go. So just spreading the prongs on the back. Okay, so I've got my pieces here, and this motorcycle, if you can picture it, is going to start over here, and then it's going to slide over here. So I'm going to see how far I want my motorcycle to actually go. Hold it there and then turn it to the back. Now I'm going to take my pencil and trace where that is, so you can see those markings here. And this is actually where I'm going to put the foam tape. So I'm going to make sure this piece is glued over that drawn slot. Alright, I'm going to set that aside for now. Taking this front piece, I'm going to turn it over, and I've also added a tiny strip of foam tape within those pencil lines on the bike. So just to show you for a second, this is going to end up going through the slot here on the back. So I'm going to start it over on this side. Now I'm going to take my blue strip here. This is the pulling mechanism, so this is going to stick out about a 1/2 inch on this side, and that's how I know where to stick it down. So I'm just going to try and make it straight across, and this side is going to end up right about there, and just stick it to that foam tape. So okay, let's test it out. It's looking pretty good. So I've got my pulley, or my pulling tab here, and it's up to you whether you want to write pull on here or an arrow or something to indicate what to do there. But the tab itself is pretty self-explanatory, I think. So this is going to be the moving sliding mechanism, and then when I glue it to the card and I drag this across, there will be the blue that I was talking about before, so it looks pretty seamless when it moves across the card. Next step is to glue this front piece down to the card. Now, Make sure not to glue anywhere on the pulling mechanism itself. Just glue around it. Make sure there's a nice margin there so that it doesn't stick to the card when you try to pull it. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down to the card. Starting on the inside, I'm going to start by cutting a piece of blue paper to fit just on the inside, and make sure to cut it a little bit less than the length of it so that you don't butt right up against the crease here, because that can kind of make it hard to close. So I've cut a piece just to the right size, and I'm going to ink the edges with Timber Brown StazOn and a cosmetic wedge. And this is really easy to do, but it gives you a nice inked edge look, which I love. So I'm just dabbing it along the edges. Back to the front really quick. I've decided I also want to ink the edges of the front, kind of doing this backwards, but just to make it consistent with the inside, I'm going to go ahead and ink the edges of the front flap brown. I'm also going to make use of this little badge stamp right here, and I'm going to stamp in the center of each of these plaid squares with the same color, Timber Brown. Okay, so I've got my border of little badges here. On the inside, I'm going to glue this strip of paper, and it's about 1.5 inches wide, and that's going to go across the top here. I'm going to leave a little bit of rim at the top. And then across the top, I'm going to stamp the Born to be Wild stamp in a series, so it's kind of a stripe. So here's what my card's looking like so far, and I'm nearly done. The next step is to print on this orange paper a greeting, and I've done that already. It says Happy Father's Day, and to do this I used computer journaling. So I printed on a regular piece of paper first and then sent it through with a piece of orange paper taped to it, and it landed right on the orange paper. So I'm going to ink the edges of that and glue it right here in the bottom right corner. So here's the greeting right here in the bottom right corner, as I said. And now I'm going to add some silver nail heads to the card, just in a few key spots to bring attention to that and to, you know, bling it up a little bit, even though it's a manly card. Okay, so here's the finished product. Here's the front. We've got the pull tab right here. Magically slides to the side. And on the inside, just a few strips along the top and a nice little greeting that shows from the front or the inside, and a little bit of space for you to write your own personal greeting. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Stay tuned for the bundle offerings, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next week. First in the bundle is the North Country paper pack, and these are the 6 designs in the pack. There are 2 of each sheet, but this is just a close-up of each of them. We've got a nice warm flannel plaid here. It looks like flannel because of the texture. And then there's a all-over leaf plus stripe pattern. Very nice and neutral. Followed by this, I guess it's kind of a fern-looking pattern. It goes in stripes though, so that's very unique. I really love that design. Then we've got some more leaves, very autumn looking, and a fern texture with that nice deep orange, and then a stripe. And I always love the stripe because it kind of encapsulates the whole paper pack into one paper. So that is the North Country paper pack. Then we of course have the 100 Movable Parts DVD, and this is for your computer. And there are 100 cards, obviously, so plenty to keep you busy for a while. And they all have interesting little movable pieces and parts to them, so that's fun. And then we have the motorcycle small stamp, which comes with the Born to be Wild stamp, the motorcycle itself. Let me just let you know how long it is. About 2.5 inches long. It's a pretty good size, and then this cute little badge here. So those are the 3 items in this week's savings bundle. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again next week.